Hey again, guys. You know what I like to do when I'm wearing my Bruce Lee shirt? I like to look at some baseball cards. Hey man, I got so much response to my one video. Never expected that. What it tells me is that what I'm thinking has resonated with other collectors, which I suspected. And there's a lot of people thinking the same things that I'm thinking. And I just wanted to give a shout out to a few channels. If you like the good vintage stuff and you're a new subscriber, you may not be familiar with these channels. So I wanted to give them a shout out because they're similar. They show similar things to what I do. And the first is Dave Blue Jacket 66. His collection is amazing. You will see cards you never saw before and never will. Andrew Nuff Said Cards. The stuff he shows, your jaw will drop. And Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards. And I don't think people realize what an amazing collection he has. I don't even know if he shows it all, because when he shares it with me privately, it's unreal. So those are three channels I wanted to give a shout out to. Now, I got like 100 new subscribers in a day, and so there's a new audience, and I wanted to break out some of the good stuff for you. I have some really nice stuff. I'm excited to show it. We're going to start with, let me put my glasses on. I don't want to misread anything. We're going to start with this 1888 WG1. These were the first game cards to feature individual players. And I'm going to show you an Ezra Sutton here and an excellent 5. And Ezra Sutton has a place in baseball history because he was the first player in Major League Baseball history to hit a home run. I believe he hit a second one later in that game. These cards are very, very, very hard to find. I have here a 1932 Abdullah and Company Limited, one of my favorite all-time Babe Ruths. That's what these look like on the back. Years ago, people didn't want these because they were an overseas issue. But I did. Good for me. I have here probably the rarest Satchel Paige card. Now, a lot of you will say the 1967 Venezuela, but you go look up the Pops. PSA has graded 30, 40 of those, and they've graded like 4 of these, and that's a 1962 Pittsburgh Exhibits. These were given away at Kennywood Park. And Kennywood Park, if you're from Pittsburgh, you know it. We used to always have our school, everybody had their school picnics there. Satchel Paige, love me some Satchel Paige. Here is 1949. This is a Cuban issue of Quincy Troop, and this is the only one PSA has ever graded. Now, Quincy Troop, he was from down here in South Carolina. He was a catcher, and he made baseball history in 1952 when he came up and caught for Sam Jones. And they became the first black battery in the American League. Known to be a good catcher. And I have one of the greatest baseball players ever to play the game. This is 1945-46, Carmelo Deportivo, the only man elected to 5 different Hall of Fames. He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame here. He's in the Cuba Hall of Fame, Mexican Hall of Fame, Negro League Hall of Fame, Puerto Rican Hall of Fame. I think that's the 5. Martin DeHigo. He faced Satchel Paige twice and beat him. He was a pitcher and a great fielder and batter. He could do it all. He is a legend in Cuba. And this is one of those cards that I was shaking when I got. Now I want to show you a special card from a special set. This is special to me for a few different reasons. This is the 1903 E107, and this is a very, very, very rare set, even by Dave's standards. Dave, I know you have to agree this is a rare set. And this is Sox Seabold. Of course, he got the nickname for the way he hit the ball. Now, Sox Seabold has an interesting story. First of all, his family moved when he was young to Jeannette, Pennsylvania, and that's where my father's from. So I have that connection. And he became a legend in the area for his smooth fielding and powerful hitting, and he made it to the pros. But what he's best known for is Connie Mack was rebuilding the A's, and he had hurt his knee late in his career. He was at the end of his career, and Connie Mack used him to help with the younger players and help with recruitment. There was a young player from the country who Connie Mack had bought his contract and brought him to Philadelphia, and he kept running home to South Carolina every time no one was looking. He hated the big city life. He didn't want to be there, so he kept going home. Connie Mack sent him to Greenville, South Carolina to bring him back. So he gets this player. They get on the train. They have dinner. They go to bed. When he wakes up, this player has snuck off the train in the middle of the night and went back to Greenville. And he had to go back and grab him again. And if it wasn't for Sox Seabold, none of us may know the name Shoeless Joe Jackson. Here's a Ollie Pickering T206. And many of you probably don't know. He's special for a different reason. So one day, he played in the Texas League. One day, he went 7 for 7. All 7 hits were little flails that barely left the infield. And the press dubbed it a Texas Leaguer. Still call it that today. Here's a 1911-14 Bruner's Bred Nap Ladjaway. One of the greatest early players, period. Here's a T227 Series of Champ, one of my favorite all-time cards. I even had a wooden plaque made of this, thinking I would never get one. And then I got the real thing, Home Run Baker. Led the league in home runs like 4 straight years to get that nickname. Now, I collect, every once in a while, and if I can find them, stamp backs. And if you're not familiar with what stamp backs are, in the old days of collecting, kids and even older collectors, they would stamp the back of their cards with a symbol, an initial. Some of them even used actual ink stamps. And that was just a thing that people did. And so, you know, people that only want to collect high grade, well, they would never be a stamp collector, right? But to me, as a true card collector and a historical collector, man, they're so special to me, because what's fun is to try to find those stamps and reunite an old kid's collection from the early 1900s or 1800s and reunite those cards. And it's not easy to do. I have several that I only have one, and I look around to see if I can find the other one. But I found 2 cards that I reunited, and they're both special cards. One is the Cap Anson. And the other is a guy that, lots of people argue should be in the Hall of Fame. He was essentially the gloveless Ozzie Smith of his day. And that's Captain Jack Glasscock. And of course, nobody could ever get past his last name, and they make fun of it, but he was a fantastic early shortstop. And the stamp is from Manhattan. Is it upside down? So these two were reunited. The same seller had a few, and there was a third one that I was watching, but I can't spend that much money at the same time. I didn't want to, and somebody snagged it. I don't know if anybody's watching, but if you did, man, maybe we could work out a deal. I probably have that card unstamped. Maybe we could trade for the stamped one. This is a fabulous card. 1887 gold coin, King Kelly. One of the best early players. And these cards are tough. But what I find funny, in the early days of baseball, he's wearing two gloves there that look like gloves an old lady would wear while she was working in her garden. These are very rare too. 1933 Warsh cigar, and this is Jimmy Fox. And in many cases, I have other cards from these sets. In some cases, several cards from these sets, but I just picked a sampling to show you. If you're new to my channel, I wanted to give you an idea of stuff I collect. Here's a Cuban Trish speaker, and this was taken in, it was an exhibition game, and I forget who they were playing, but you'll see he's in a black uniform. And, you know, they used to have those exhibition games, so it's a Cecina from 1915, I believe. Not easy to find. Although, Rick Vintage Oddball Cards just got one. He knows a little bit more about the game than I do. He was telling me. Here is probably one of the first or second ever gum cards. The 1880. They always mislabeled them Scraps Tobacco. And you have to know that this was not even a tobacco issue. And Scraps was a generic term used for loose tobacco. No such company. 1888 Scraps Tobacco, and it's Charles Comiskey. These were little cutouts, well, not cutouts, die cuts, and they came attached at the shoulder to another card. I think they were in strips of 2. And if you think the T206 Honus Wagner is rare, these cards were issued, now they're unknown years. They're listed as 1907. I've seen them listed as 1909. I know for a fact they were issued in 1910 because of a specific player that was only with a team that year. So I believe they were a multiple year set. 1907 and 1909 is what I think they are. And they came on the side of old candy boxes. And they would put these little squares for kids to cut out after they finished the box of candy. And so this card here probably has around 16 to 20 graded. And this is Honus Wagner. And this is the second highest one I ever found graded. And the highest one I actually saw, it was a 6. And man, it had stuff on his face. This is a nicer copy than the highest graded. And that's why you can't always go by highest graded. Visually, there could be something wrong with that card. Or sometimes the grader's smoking crack when he grades it and grades it too high or low. But this is a beautiful example of these little rare cards. And I have a bunch of these, but I'm going to show you that one. And I wanted to show you this guy because what a story. If you don't know about this guy, he was crazy. He was just a real biography story. Rube Waddell, one of the greatest pitchers back then, just a phenomenal pitcher, but he was kind of like the Forrest Gump of his time. He would wrestle alligators. He would come at the last minute to the games, run down the stands, grab and eat people's hot dogs, and grab and drink some beers to wash it down. in street clothes, go to the mound naked, and he didn't wear underwear. He didn't believe in wearing underwear, so he would strip down to his bare self on the mound and change in front of everybody. He once saved a woman from drowning when they were on some sort of a larger boat, which he happened to be driving. I'll put it that way. He once stayed out all night. Somebody said, "Man, you look like you were up all night." He said, "I was." Where he saved his town, there was a major flood. He just did all kind of crazy antics. And if you want to read up on an interesting baseball player or watch a video on YouTube, this is the guy you want to do it with. Here is these are scarce. They look like the 1929 cash-in cards. And they're the 1930 W554. And this is Lou Gehrig. They're the same image as the cash-in, but larger, and they have a little bit of a different bottom here. And I don't know the full story on these, but I believe they were cut out. And I would love to know from what. If they were on a box of some sort. But a scarce issue. And, I mean, I have other stuff laying around here, but that's enough for now. This is some of the stuff I consider the good stuff. And there's lots more of it. So, as always, I want to thank you for watching.